Welcome to the Third Eye Show, which brings you ancient wisdom as well as cutting-edge investigations into the mysteries of the universe. The Third Eye Show celebrates our diversity, like the unique beauty of each individual wave, and our oneness, like the magnificent ocean from which each wave emerges. We are all one in spirit as we live on this earth plane. The third eye is said to be able to see into the spiritual and psychic realms. At a time when our lives, our country, and our planet are undergoing intense transformations, we will explore topics that will fascinate, enlighten, and empower. Join us as we witness the thrilling ways Spirit manifests in our daily lives and the varied paths we choose to create heaven here on our earth. The Third Eye Show is created and offered in love and light.
If you have ever wanted to develop your psychic abilities, or even just amuse yourself with intuitive games, then this is the show for you. Led by Lori LaBelle and assisted by Dana Finley, Shelby Richer, Alicia Gander, and Lucia Reed, today's Third Eye Show suggests several entertaining and completely harmless psychic exercises that you can enjoy alone or with your friends. Do you know that spiritualism is a religion? Do you know the differences between American mediumship and that of our English cousins? And what can spiritualism and mediumship teach us about life on the higher side or right here on planet Earth? Stay tuned to learn the answers to these questions and much more on today's Third Eye Show, as we host a fascinating discussion on spiritualism and mediumship, moderated by Lucia Reed, with psychic medium, channeler, and co-owner of Wolfstone Holistic Healing Center, Nathan Stein, pastor of the Vision of Light Church of Spiritualism and Healing, Reverend Paula Parker, medium and healer, Alicia Gander, and spiritualist, Dana Finley. This is a show you'll want to watch again and again and tell your friends about. So, don't touch that dial.
This is our magic box, and in this I put an item or items, and Lucia and Shelby are going to, with their mind's eye, look in the box and tell us what's in there. They're using, you can feel the energy with your hands this way, but they're not going to actually physically touch the box. And what I would say is maybe do a slight meditation where you quiet yourself and then pretend that you are in the box and see what you see in the box. And we will see what everybody picks up, because I put in something very interesting, what you might pick up. Now you want to touch it? Sometimes it's easier. For me, I like to physically touch it.
Yeah, I do better with envelopes when I can feel it. I don't know, but actually, something red in the box?
You know, I don't know if the box is colored inside, but no,
okay,
it's not red.
I was getting yellow.
I don't think so, but why don't we take a look
plastic.
at it? That might have been. Why don't we look? Because I tried to find something that would have many different things that you could pick off. And they are white poinsettias.
No, I didn't get that at all.
With plastic, yay, plastic little balls on them. So I figured, you might be able to pick up Christmas, you might flowers, white, sparkly, glass, plastic. I figured they would be.
Actually,
There
I
is
was
red in
seeing
the box.
I was seeing
There is
something
red.
red and like there's red striping in the
Yeah,
box, and that's what I was
the
getting.
inside of the box.
That's what I was
So she
seeing.
did see it. There doesn't mean you don't
and
get
there's
actually
yellow
see it.
inside the box.
See this?
too.
You know
And
what I
there
was
is yellow in
thinking
the
of?
box too.
There is. That's right. There is
Yeah.
yellow.
So use a plain brown box.
That would be better. But what I did see was a red strip, which mine turned into
And
a
that's what
stapler.
it did.
And
Yeah.
you saw yellow, and you got the plastic.
And you get the plastic.
You got the. Well, I guess I did too, because I was thinking of that red stapler.
Yeah.
So see how things that might seem wrong can actually be very right. So give yourself a break and look for what is right, and what you do get right, or what you can find that might be right, because you can pick up all sorts of different things from this. Somebody who maybe didn't have good holidays and doesn't care for Christmas might not have got a good feeling at all from any of this. So it's interesting, and you can do it in different ways. But it would have been interesting to see what you got had you actually touched the box too.
Isn't that funny? Somebody who loves the movie Office Space has got a red stapler.
Right here. But there were elements that were very much right, and I would again suggest probably using a regular box. Have you ever seen a color around your friend? Have you ever noticed when they've moved, there's been color movement around them? What you're seeing is an aura, and it's their life force energy of not just their physical life force, but their energy of their subtle energy bodies, which is the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And it goes out quite a ways, and with practice can go out quite a bit further. But to help you learn how to see an aura, we're going to show you something that you can probably do with a bunch of friends while you're sitting around. You need a white background, or at least a very light colored background, so that you can clearly see the colors, because they are very subtle. And so we're going to look at Dana, and we're going to see Dana standing there in front of the white background. Ideally, you would want a light behind you as you're looking at Dana. And it would be shining, at Dana, so that you've got light flowing in front of her to behind her. And then you're going to look above her head, probably about 6 inches, and you're going to focus there. That is, don't have her in focus. You want to be in a soft focus. Through the magic of computer generation, we will see auras around our victim here, around Dana. And you might see the color red, and the red could signify a very passionate person in a clear, bright jewel tone red. If it's a very dark and muddy red, it might indicate some anger mixed in. The red person tends to be an A-type person who will be a leader. And now if you see an orange around someone, that tends to mean they're a very sunny, joyous person, someone who likes to party, is always looking to have a good time. In doing so, they tend to also network. They will get people together for certain things. She knows this person who knows this person, and she gets them together. And that's usually what the orange will indicate. Someone who just likes to have a good time. And as we slowly move into a yellow, yellow is the higher energies of spiritual knowledge and intellect. So you will get someone who's probably in the process of learning something right now, maybe taking a class, could be also doing research in their job. And then if you go into a green, green is more an indication of growth and healing. So they might be going through a personal healing process, or they might be doing healing work, so that frequency would be available to them. And the growth could be they're going through a period of growth spiritually or in their career. And then with blue, you can do a lighter blue might indicate more of spiritual energy, tranquility, and the deeper and darker, as you go into a darker blue and into an indigo, you would see more of a higher universal consciousness energy, so that that person is probably very wise and tends to have connection with higher spiritual energy. And then, of course, there's a pink, which would be divine love and energy, and so that person is just a very loving person. Okay, well now since that we have just seen Dana with all the different aura colors around her, let's talk about what we saw about her aura. And for me, I saw yellow and green.
That's what I saw too.
Me too. That would be the consensus. But I also saw purple starting to emanate from her hands.
Oh,
I wasn't looking at
her
hands.
hands.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, so now you've covered what these colors mean. Would you just give us a refresher?
The green would be growth for her spiritually, and with the yellow coming in, I would say probably that she's going through a period of spiritual knowledge coming in for her, and translating not only into growth, but increasing her healing skills.
And the purple around her hands?
Purple around her hands could very easily be the higher spiritual energy. That is probably, maybe her hands are activating more now.
Mm-hmm. I think she uses her hands when she's doing her healing, right? So the higher energy is sort of being channeled through the hand. So that would explain that.
It could also mean that it's activating and opening her channels more, is what I think, probably. So that she's maybe getting a higher vibration through her hands.
So we all saw the same thing, because that's what's actually there.
Right? That's
actually
the good thing that we all saw.
And it's pretty easy to do. It really doesn't take a whole lot of practice, right?
And the other thing to do, if you want to do this alone and not in a party situation, put a plant down in front of a white, something white, so that you can see the actual colors.
Of the plant?
Of the plant.
Great idea.
Yeah, so you can practice on your own.
Now, what about looking in a mirror?
You can do that too.
Yeah.
Very easily if you have the light behind you and also the white background. I've done that.
And Lori, if you're playing this game with friends or a friend, can you purposely change your aura color?
Oh, absolutely.
To get the other person to guess.
We could,
excuse me.
We asked Dana at one time to send out love. And there was a different shift in a color coming in. I tended to see it more as an orange kind of, or goldish color coming in. Had we done that for a little bit longer, it might have actually infiltrated her whole aura.
So practice would make us more cognizant of what we already have seen.
Practice is the best thing to do, over and over, so you learn to be and understand your consistency.
But if you want to just have fun, you can get your friends together and you can just play with this, and it's fun and it's safe and it's instructive, and and it helps you to become more in tune with your intuitive self. So, try it. It's fun.
I think you'll be surprised by what you see. Now we're going to introduce another game for you to play either by yourself or with a group of people, but it's a lot more fun with a group of people. But it is for psychic practice. It's good also to do for yourself. And what you do is you take some plain manila envelopes. They don't have to be this big, they can be smaller. And you put the pictures, you cut out some pictures, and you put them in the envelopes so that people can't see them, but they're going to read them with their hands over them. And one of the nice things about this particular exercise is that it helps you understand what your gifts are and how maybe you might be using your psychic energies and gifts, in that sometimes through your hands you might you might hear something in relation to what's in the envelope. You might see something visually in your third eye, that's in your mind's eye, whether something is round, what the shape is, whatever is on the particular picture. For instance, in this picture we have raspberries. So if you were clairaudient, you might hear raspberries, or you might hear red, or you might hear round. If you were seeing it, you might see them, you might pick up a color red. There's many things that you might pick up of this particular picture. So you might not get the exact, there's red raspberries in the envelope, but you will maybe get red, or bubbles, or fruit, or you might smell something, or you might just feel a familiar feeling as to when you were picking raspberries, something that would connect you with raspberries. And that will tend to lead you to what your gift is. But you might not get what exactly it is. And the other thing you can use is words, because words have an energy to them also. You might, let's say, from beauty to anger, feel two different things when you feel them. And what we will do is we will have some envelopes to play with and see what we can come up with as to an answer for what is in them. So here we have some envelopes all made up. Oops, that one's for someone. I'll take that one since it came out. And you can pick whatever envelope you want.
Whoops, I guess I'm supposed to have that one too.
And you can pick an envelope. There's lots of different things. I have no idea what's going to show up.
Yeah, this one was at your feet.
Okay. And what we'll do is basically just take a moment to be quiet and to just see what we pick up off each one, whether we hear something or see something. Now, did everybody finished? Or?
Yep, I immediately saw something.
Your face got really red.
Did it?
Yes, it
I'm
did.
picking up a great amount of
I think we should, well, should we tell or should we
energy.
peek?
Let's peek, let's peek.
We'll peek. I got, when I was doing it, I had movement. I was getting movement. I really couldn't tell what kind of movement, but what I got was dolphins jumping. Now, I didn't get the blue and I didn't get the fish and I didn't, but I was getting movement. So that shows you how off you think you might be. And what about you?
I was getting a very warm sensation in the color yellow, which is part of the picture. There's a lot of sun coming in, and there's yellow through here and red, but I wasn't getting anything definite, just a very warm and yellow feeling, as if I were out in the sun.
And
Cool.
Lucia?
I got things on different levels. The first thing immediately that I felt was round and orange. My first thought was a basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Round and orange. It's not a basketball.
No.
And then I saw, and then it turned into sort of a stained glass window in a church.
Mm-hmm.
And I got sort of a reverent feeling, like I was looking at a window in a church. And what this is actually a picture of is the Dalai Lama, whom I happen to honor and respect tremendously. This is someone I would have a very reverent feeling about. And I guess you could say that a round face like this.
Absolutely, you've got the round shape there.
Yep. So what I got from this was the sort of an orange, that sort of color. I got the round, and there is orange in the picture. And but then I went deeper into it as I concentrated on the image, and I got the feeling of reverence that I interpreted. I saw this sort of orange morph into a stained glass window. Well, it's not a stained glass window, but it is this is an image that would bring to my mind a feeling of reverence.
And that's where, again, the stained glass window really didn't have any particular physical evidence to the what you got, but it was something that made you feel
Right.
what it was right. So why don't you try this with some of your friends and see what you get, or practice it on your own just to see what your gifts are and understand and practice with it. Okay, this one we're going to do is quite the showstopper. I've had people just basically stop in their tracks when they've seen this, and that is bending spoons. And you are going to be. I didn't think I could do this either, but I was like jaw dropped when I
I've
first
seen
did
her
it.
do it.
Really, you have?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
All right.
And what you do is you're going to basically put your attention on the spoon. You're going to put the intention that you're going to bend it, and then you're going to let go completely. So I'm going to tell you kind of what you do is you kind of bring a white light, and just imagine it, down into your heart, and from your heart you're going to bring it down and around into your hand. You're going to hold the spoon here and just basically see it as an extension of your hand. See the white light going up the spoon, around it, and completely encompassing the spoon. And then you're going to give the directive. And so we will kind of almost chant as you're putting this and seeing the spoon bend. You're going to be going bend, 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 and then let go. And I will laugh, and at the moment I laugh, you take your spoon and you bend it. Now, as you practice, you can get up to 30 seconds where the metal is malleable enough. If, as you're starting out, you might just get it down and not be able to wind it around. You might just get a bend in it. You can feel it go out of the spoon. You can actually, it's
And
so
these
interesting.
are not thin
Yeah, I wanted to
spoons.
show.
Yes, they're not.
No, this is a heavy spoon.
And that's why I got these. They're not easy to bend, but they will be.
No.
Stainless steel.
All right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to just, now this isn't like the Uri Geller one where you stand and he just goes like this and it bends. Eventually you can do that, and you should be able to do that, but we're going to actually physically bend the spoon, but it's going to be so malleable that it's just going to.
But don't take spoons out of Mom's cupboard.
Believe me, that's not a good thing.
That's a no-no.
And especially ones marked sterling.
No, don't bend those.
Well, what we did is went to a local thrift store and I went through all the spoons, touching them so I'd get some nice hard ones that wouldn't bend easily. And that's an easy way to do it. So we're just basically going to see a white light come down through our crown. Breathe it in down into the heart. And move it down into your arm and out your fingers and into the spoon. You might feel heat around your fingers. You might feel a tingling. But you're basically going to surround the spoon with white light, radiating as part of yourself around the spoon. And then very quietly, we're going to tell the spoon to bend. Bend, 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 bend. And when I laugh, then we will automatically just bend the spoon. But we're going to keep bending, bend, 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 bend. No.
No. Oh my gosh.
I can almost feel it get to that point, and then when I just go to bend it, I lose it.
You really have to let go of the bend and just do it, and not pay attention to the spoon. So, and that first time when you do it, it's going to be amazing. Thank you.
What is mediumship? And what is spiritualism? Do you know? We're going to talk about that. The first question I have for the panel is, what the heck is mediumship?
Well, I guess I'll take a go at it, Lucia.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Mediumship is basically a process which can vary from person to person, but it's a communication process in which a person in body is communicating with a spirit or a disembodied person for the purpose of obtaining information or imparting information of various sorts.
Okay, well, what kinds of information?
Well, the information could include things about the loved one, for example, that has crossed over, to know that they're right, so it might be validation of who they are. It might be information about the other side or questions of a spiritual nature which they'd like to know more about, for example, are among some of the things that might be important.
I see. Paula, you had some thoughts on that as well?
Some people look for suggestions on how they should live their life, what they should do, whether they should take a job, whether they should move, or so forth. But the spirit will never tell a person how to live their life. We have free will, and the spirits will not interfere with that free will. We make our own choices, and we are responsible for our own choices.
Well, now wait a second. Let me ask a question here. I know plenty of people who, when they're here in 3D, have plenty of opinions about how you should live your life. So are you saying that something happens when you cross over, that you become wiser or you have a greater perspective?
Well, would you like to answer?
The spirits actually keep their own personality after they cross over, and so you do have to remember that.
So you mean somebody might be saying you're making that tomato gravy all wrong?
Oh, yes, they might. Yes.
Okay.
You might have that grandmother who...
That's what I'm thinking of.
And that's how you know that that's your grandmother that's coming through.
Exactly.
That's your proof. That's your reality, is how you know that that is your grandmother who is giving you that message.
But it is important to recognize, as you said, that by the virtue of the fact that a person's crossed over, they're really no wiser or more advanced, and they haven't necessarily made choices to work on their growth any more than they would have if they were on Earth. So to that extent, it's validation.
Well, speaking of validation, yeah, that makes sense. But what kinds of validations come through? Alicia, what do you think about that?
What kind of validations come through is usually how I validate when a spirit is coming to me. I look at what they're wearing, their physical characteristics. When it's a total validation, sometimes the sitter will not understand something that is said during the sitting. And what they need to do is take that piece of information home with him or her, and it allows them to check back in the family tree. And this is usually very strong validation that the medium for the spirit world and to the spirit world has now come through with strong validation that you aren't actually reading the aura or the energy of that person and working intuitively. We've now left that realm and we are now into the spirit world. And that is for sure validation, Lucia, I feel, of true good mediumship.
Thanks.
Also, Lucia, is something that you can't take with you on that reading. You don't understand.
Or something you don't even know.
You
about.
don't know. And to go home and do the background checking, and usually when you would come to a sitting or to a medium and you'd say, I can't take that, I don't understand that. Take it with you and check it out, because that's how the spirit world is validating this was a true experience, because we were not reading the energy. We were actually in contact,
communicating
with the spirits.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that there actually is no death. That is a fallacy. And now I'm getting into spiritualism, right? Now,
Right.
Dana, you're a spiritualist, correct? And if I understand your faith correctly, you believe that there is no death. Would you talk about that?
Yeah, we believe that the spirit lives on, and because we have validation of they communicate with us. And there's too many things that happen that you realize that too many accounts, stories that with near-life experiences that you keep living. It's your soul that keeps living. You leave your human body, but you live on as a soul.
And Paula, you're the minister of a local spiritualist church.
Yes, and we consider death to be a change. You change from the physical body to the etherical body. And your personality remains and you are able to communicate.
And you're conscious as you undergo this change?
I believe that you are.
Okay.
I asked one spirit who had passed over, I said, what was it like when you passed? And the answer I got was, it felt like I traveled up the tunnel to a new home. That was the answer that I got from that soul who had changed.
So spiritualism and mediumship are closely allied, but they're not the same thing. What exactly is spiritualism? I mean, we sort of touched on it, that what you believe, but what is spiritualism?
Spiritualism is a religion. It's a science and it's a philosophy. And it's a religion because we believe that there is a higher source. There is a God. And it doesn't matter what you call that God, there is a higher power. And that's so evident in so many things that happen, the things that we just cannot explain.
But could you tell us a little bit more about spiritualism, Dana?
Well, I'm new to this religion. I didn't really know it existed until about 2 years ago. I just always felt there was something that was what I believed in. And believing in communicating with spirit and, having so many people like mine, but I was like, I couldn't find people that thought the same thing I did because I wasn't brought up in a religious family. So there was no regular going to church, and when I moved to Vermont, I found the spiritualist church, and it was exactly what I've always believed inside growing up, but was never told, because spiritualism isn't a broad spectrum of religion that I found until I moved up to Vermont.
Spiritualism is also a way of life. It's a way of living, and one of our biggest principles is the golden rule, is treating other people the way that we would like to be treated. And it's being aware of everything that is happening around you.
And that's how I always felt. I always treated people how I wanted to be treated. And when I heard that was one of their principles, it was like, this all makes sense. It's exactly how I feel.
But spirit communication is a big part of the religion?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
Okay. And why is that? Why is there the emphasis on that spirit communication?
Could I throw an answer
Yes,
out? Lauren?
please.
That's right. And I'd like to say I'm not a spiritualist, but from what other spiritualists have told me, there is a belief in direct experiential knowing with encounters from spirit about God and about spirit. And
I
that
see.
makes certain. Today, primarily in some of the British, the English-speaking countries, rather, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, there's still a few gifted physical medium. And sometimes there are also voice mediums, but with the physical mediums, as I understand it, they will often have manifestation of physical objects. One particular physical medium is very gifted by the name of David Thompson, actually manifests beings from the other side with his ectoplasm, so they can not only speak, but people can touch them, feel them, and so on. In other experiments with physical mediums, such as in Skull in England, they've manifested many, many physical objects that belong to the people, and that's part of the validation process. So while it's not very popular, mostly the mental mediumship is what we're talking about now.
Right.
There are still a few, but very few, physical mediums around who can manifest spirit and objects.
That's so interesting.
Could I go back to what Nathan was talking about? And he touched on the fact that spiritualism is also considered to be a science. And that's because we try to prove everything that we believe. We try not to teach something that we cannot prove.
I see. Now, Nathan, you mentioned something about the English school of mediumship, or the European style. And Alicia, you just got back from England. You were just studying over there.
That is
right?
correct, yes.
And I remember you calling me from London, and you were really excited, and you said, oh, I love the way they do it here, and it's very different. And so would you tell us a little bit about that? How is it different? What do they do?
American mediumship is quite different from English mediumship in the fact that, first of all, English mediums are very disciplined in how they come across and what they need to project. They need evidence. And that's what it was all about. It was giving the evidential. You had to have good evidence, and the people that were getting it had to understand, yes, I understand what you are saying. And then when the message is then given after all of the evidence has been, in that direction that you are for sure, you have whomever is trying to come through, then what happens is the medium then changes and takes over the personality and comes through and gives a very loving, caring message that would touch your soul. It now becomes a soul connection. I don't see a lot of that in American mediumship. It's different, and it's not that there's not a soul connection. It's not that it isn't evidential, but if you were in England and you were speaking to an English medium, they're going to say that American mediumship deals more on the aura or the intuitive level. They're not actually touching spirit.
I see. Well, we'd love to hear from all of you mediums out there in Britain and in the U.S. So if you have thoughts on this, we'd love to hear about it. We'll be running our website right here on the screen for you. You can email us very easily through that, or I'll also run our email address. We'd love to know your thoughts on the different types of mediumship or anything that we talk about today. We're always interested in what you have to say, so please do participate. So let me ask, does that mean that all spiritualists are mediums?
No.
No, okay. So what's the difference? I don't have to become a medium in order to be a spiritualist.
It's a philosophy also, besides being a religion and a science. It's a philosophy, and that's your belief. That's your belief. And everyone has their own progress in their beliefs. We all change as we grow and we learn, and our beliefs change. And we're allowed to do that in the Spiritualist Church. We're encouraged to do that. And some of the nicest things that I have seen as being a pastor and a minister is everyone has problems, you know. But to see someone come into the church and you see their problems, and to watch them grow and watch them develop and watch them advance personally is just a beautiful thing.
Well, I'd like to offer some other viewpoints. Mediums often have, outside of this framework of spiritualism, often have quite different views, you know, on the afterlife, how they work as a process. I know a lot of mediums myself, and everybody comes at it from quite different ways. And from my understanding, you know, the Spiritualist Church does provide training, of course, and so there's obviously a direction, a set of standards that, you know, that they throw out. But with mediums, they come to it some quite naturally, some study with others, etc. Also, with mediums, there's generally not a need for validation. Or at least that's not their focus. Some individuals may be into that. You know, myself, I'm very interested in these phenomena, so it's kind of fun for me to go at that. But it's not necessary focus. And also, you know, with mediumship, there are many different levels, and as along with the different approaches, you know, that there are. And we could get into beliefs, but I won't go there. Just to suffice to say that you know, mediumship is not a religion per se.
Right. So let me throw a question out for everybody. So what do people say when you're at a party and they say, so what do you do? And you say, I talk to dead people. Or I'm a spiritualist. You know, they say, I'm a whatever. You know, what church do you go to? You say, I'm a spiritualist. What do they say? And how do you feel about that? Does anybody want to touch that
Most
one?
people say, what is a spiritualist?
They say, what the heck is that?
I've never heard of that religion before.
That's what most people say?
Right.
I think if you say you're a medium, because of the large exposure of charismatic mediums like John Edward or Alison Dubois or others, the term medium is, at least people have a general sense, you know, that you're communicating with the other side. And interestingly enough, people, not as many people as you might think, look at you as though you had two heads when you mention the term medium, because I know this is a shock. Fewer and fewer, at least, you know, wincing when you say you're a medium, because there's been many books, many television programs, depictions on TV. So at least there's, while they may not have a good understanding, because we're talking about Hollywood, you know, we're still, the word is out there, the term is out there. So there's a sense, at least I've heard this, you know. Yeah, I have a certain idea what you're thinking.
I find it, when I finally first, you know, started telling people, yeah, it's okay to tell people this is what I do. Something I noticed as soon as you would tell someone, either they'd run the opposite direction, all right, praying for your forgiveness and hellfire and damnation, and you're not going there, or you're possessed by some type of demonic force, or B, what can you tell me about me? Is there something I need to know about my future? Can you help me? And those are the two types of
They want a free reading.
Yeah, right now.
Right now. How about for you, Dana? How do people react when you tell them, well, I found this spiritualist church?
Usually about the same way as Alicia's experience, where they either just turn the other way or they want to know more information.
Okay. Is this a Christian religion?
It's not considered to be Christian, but I looked it up in the dictionary, and the description is a Christian is someone who believes in Jesus Christ. And I believe in Jesus Christ. When I have meditated, I have seen Jesus in my meditations. So I don't see how they say that it is not Christian, and yet it's not considered to be.
If I could just add a comment, it came out of obviously a Christian environment, and there are many things I think that there are in common as well as many significant differences. And some of the things in common obviously include formal organization, defined liturgy, services such as on Sunday, singing of hymns, if I'm correct. And there's also a belief, I guess, that there are some spirits that are considered low that can influence people or that can be mischievous that you're better off avoiding. But that's not a significant focus, but it is a belief. However, on the other hand, as mentioned earlier, Christianity, at least the Catholic Church, places emphasis on learning about God and Spirit from the Bible. It also places emphasis on earning a place, based on your deeds in heaven or hell. Whereas I understand the spiritualist church talks about spheres of consciousness that a soul can, develop through around the earth. But there's no dogma, in terms of earning your way into a heaven or a hell. So those
Buying
are some,
that stairway to heaven.
the stairway to heaven, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can progress through spheres of consciousness in that way.
Yes. I'd also like to say that for me, actually, the way I see spiritualism and a Bible and Christianity is that I believe, and I thoroughly believe this with all my heart, that the Bible is channeled material. Somebody heard it and transcribed it and wrote it. And that's my personal belief.
Okay. And you are a spiritualist?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I also feel, being a spiritualist, we don't have a Bible. And that, to me, has more free will to experience things, instead of saying you have to believe this, and this, or this is going to happen. There's more free will and experience.
So you do believe that other masters, say Buddha, whatever, would be worthy of respect and heed?
Yes.
Okay. Can anyone become a medium? Can I become a medium?
Yes,
Yes?
absolutely.
Yes?
But it depends on the definition. I
Okay.
guess you can comment on that. as
Okay,
well.
so what do you think?
Everyone has the ability. It takes a lot of study, a lot of practice, a lot of control. You have to learn not to let other forces control you. You need to be in control.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, I've seen people get into this and get very carried away with a lot of distractions, I want to call them, because there's a lot of new age out there that, well, how would you say it?
Just say it.
You just get carried away with it, and you can get into a lot of different tools and a lot of different beliefs, and you need to really keep grounded. You really need to keep with the basics, and that's my feeling on that.
So it's really about developing a sensitivity
Developing your sensitivity.
in a disciplined way? Is that
Yes.
basically it?
Yes.
I guess I would agree. I think it's possible for anybody to who has the ability to relax the body and mind and to control the conscious mind overlaying and the chattering that it constantly does. and to sensitize yourself appropriately. And there's many disciplines that people can use to really train themselves to be more sensitive and to discipline their minds and bodies and to be able to go within and gain perceptions of a physical nature, mental nature. This is trainable, and as with anything else, some people have natural gifts and other people have developed this through study and discipline, or combination of both. But I think it's a potential for every human being on the planet, in my opinion, that has these skills, because we're all spirit, basically, fundamentally.
Right. So if some of our viewers would like to develop this sensitivity, what would you suggest they do? Could you give us some information that perhaps we could post on our website? Would you be willing to do that, folks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Someplace to go for further information? Or would you,
Yeah,
do you have
that's
any
fine.
ideas off
Yeah.
the top of your head of,
Sure.
what to do? I mean, what's a responsible way to go about this if someone chooses to develop this sensitivity?
Well, there are many places to go from the Spiritualist Church. There are many good books, but in my view, there's certain skills that I would recommend they take up that would be very useful as part of this process, even if it's not formal. And that is, first of all, to take up something that will help them to still the mind and the body, and to go within. I found my own development techniques like yoga, meditation, self-hypnosis, and energy therapies very, very useful. Things like meridian therapies, EFT, for example, is wonderful for you to get in touch with body, mind, emotional sensitivities. Okay.
And I would like to add, Lucia, back when you were asking the question, can anybody be a medium or learn? Yes, I believe that, but from my understanding is in order to be a medium, you also have to be intuitive.
People have to work at it. Some people have natural gifts, of course, but this is also trainable. I believe, my own personal view, it's a natural faculty we all have, the intuition.
Oh, I agree that we all have the intuition. I absolutely agree. But to be a medium is something that can be developed.
Yes.
Can be developed and can come very hard to someone. I know for a fact that I cannot paint a picture. I can't even draw a stick figure. But yet I can have someone draw a beautiful painting because they're naturally gifted at painting, and that's what they do. So
you're talking about sort of levels of intuition.
Yeah.
Someone may be more
right,
intuitive
or
than another
mediumship.
person. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yes,
the
completely.
mediumship, and some people could spend a lifetime trying to just get, because I'll never paint
Right.
a beautiful picture. I can't even draw the stick figure. So the encouragement, and I think what you're saying, is to build the intuitive side.
Yes.
And allow what comes naturally to come.
To happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you would suggest that a responsible place to start, if someone wanted to become a medium, would be to contact their local spiritualist church and get in touch with them and look for some guidance there, perhaps?
Well, there are also people who mentor or provide classes in intuition development or mediumship development.
If you can choose among them. I mean, maybe if you have a personal recommendation or something like that, because how would you know?
Right.
Who's the right teacher for you? Or do you think you just know?
I think you have to interview teachers. For example, when
Okay.
I went to be attuned to Reiki, the process I use, this is not the only way, but I talked to people to get a sense of not only their energy, but what and how they taught, and I sort of researched it and then used my intuition to go with the person. That's how I would recommend.
Make sure it feels right.
Make sure you find the teacher who feels right to you.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing here. Okay.
Yes.
So, since you're in contact with the other side, and the woman who read for me was telling me about my gram, what have you learned about the higher side? What do you know What do they teach? I mean, are they teaching us about the higher side, or are they just saying it's not a crown, it's a tiara?
That is our real home. This is an illusion. This is our learning grounds. We come to the earth plane to learn lessons, and some of those lessons are hard. And then we go home, and we learn a little more there.
And do they teach? Do they tell us about home? Do they tell you? I mean, what are they doing? What's my dad doing?
Well,
what's he doing over there?
Interestingly, I found that
Hanging out.
they have a
He's
life.
having fun.
They're studying too.
I have found that they have a life. Some of them, at least, have paths of service. You might call these jobs. They're in different spheres. Some act as guides to those who are down here. In short, they have many of the same choices that we here have in the body, but they're not encumbered by the body any longer.
Okay, so they're actually living lives over there?
Yes.
Over there. Where are we? What are we talking about? Are we talking about in the clouds?
All around us.
Ah, okay.
Basically, different frequencies of consciousness that we're used to thinking in terms of space and time.
Right.
The Einstein construct. But in reality, there are many frequencies of consciousness that overlap the physical environment and other dimensions that we're living in. So it's not really a place. It's a frequency of vibration.
Okay. We need to wrap this up. So, are there any final things that you would like to communicate to people that people misunderstand, or you would like to set straight about mediumship or spiritualism?
It's not parlor games. It's it's something, to me, it's a personal growth.
Okay. Anyone else have any final thoughts? This is something that should be taken seriously.
Right. And I think one thing that I have learned, and that it's really important to know, that when I now am doing my mediumship and I am working and I ask for the source to come to my soul, that I am touching God and God is touching me, and therefore I can touch your soul. So
It's a perfect place to end the conversation. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much.